All right, all right, all right. Here we are. Welcome, guys. Thanks for taking time to spend a little time with me. And this was the one that I was waiting on the most. If anybody knows me, of course, gameplay is always top priority. But if anybody knows what I've been waiting for the most is this franchise deep dive. Because this is what's important to me as a simulation gamer, meaning I'm looking for the NFL experience. I want to play seasons. I want the story of the franchise and all of that and compete and yada, yada, yada. And I want the gameplay to be what it can be. Authentic gameplay along with the authentic franchise career experience. That's what I look for. So the franchise deep dive was the one I was waiting for. Now I've already read this. So I'm just going to skim through some of the things, man, that caught my attention. I'm not going to read each and every bullet point. And I know I say that in every video, right? But I'm really not. I'm really trying to condense these videos. I encourage you guys to go read this yourself. And I'm also going to say this, man, and I'll say it when I wrap up this video. There's still so much more to do. Let's get that out of the way. There's still so much more to do that I don't see that's being presented this year in franchise. But I appreciate the steps and the leap that they're taking in franchise, because the franchise mode has been the old forgotten about, if you will. It hasn't gotten as much attention. And I don't ever expect any gaming company to give me every single aspect, especially a game like Madden that hasn't been the deepest. I don't expect it to give me everything in one shot. I just want to see it, show me the effort. Make me believe that it could get better the next year and the year after that. And that's what I feel from just seeing everything that they're bringing to franchise, to gameplay, to presentation. It makes me feel like, okay, if y'all continue to develop like that, we're going to be okay. Let's just hope that this year is not a one and done. I don't get that sense, kind of just talking to some of the people in the building. But hey, so let's get that out of the way. But let's talk about a couple things, man, that catches my eye. And I'm excited to see how they're going to pan out. Of course, the first thing that they want to talk about is their three major goals, right? So they talk about feel like a real NFL coach. The second one is every game feels different. That's always important. And then the third is every week to feel different. These were the three areas that they focused on. They said that we're delivering on all of that this year. So they're committing to delivering on real NFL coach, feel like a real NFL coach, having every game feel different and every week feeling different. Okay, so let's scroll down. First and foremost, they talk about coach creation. I like this, but I don't generally create a coach unless I play in an online league. And I don't know if I will play online this year or not in terms of an online franchise. I just haven't always had the time to commit to it, and shout outs to my guy, Zorfek. We would play in the Sim Standard League. And, over the last couple years, I haven't necessarily had the time to do it. And also the game hasn't been intriguing enough for me to continue to play. You get some users in there, and I know all of us are trying to be sim guys, but you get users that just rely on the metas and stuff like that, and the user experience hasn't been the greatest. But we'll see. Maybe I will come back to it. We shall see. But I think this is great for those who would like to create a coach. I've even thought about, man, even taking on the Steelers. Maybe I will create a coach and just give it a different narrative, right? Add a different narrative to the story by creating a coach and it not being Mike Tomlin. I don't know. We'll see. Excuse me. But yeah, they're saying basically here 200 heads, and you can customize everything from their gear. And as you can see, a couple screenshots here. So that's always good, man. Give people what they ask for. People always ask for customization and more depth. For those that this matters to them, I'm happy for you guys. Then the next thing they talk about, man, is choosing your archetype. So the coaches will have an archetype. They have offensive guru, defensive genius, and development wizard. Or, you could go with the real NFL coach. So basically what it says here, this choice will dictate not only the abilities you start with, but also the abilities you will unlock as you progress in your career. As an offensive guru, the entire unlock path will consist of offensive-minded abilities, and the same goes for defensive genius, where its unlock path will be centered around defensive-minded abilities. It says, as a development wizard, the unlock path will primarily be a mix of off-the-field abilities and gameplay abilities. Interesting. All existing coaches will also fall under one of these three archetypes, and the abilities they possess will be tailored to match their real-life counterparts. So you would imagine a guy like Andy Reid, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, these guys would be, more offensive. Maybe guys like, I'll throw my own coach in there. Mike Tomlin, he started his career as a defensive guy, so maybe he'll be a more defensive-minded coach and so forth. And that's good. So it should match their real-life counterparts, and all of their traits and abilities should match that. So that is cool right there. Coaching abilities metagame. So there's a lot of different things going on with the abilities, man. It says abilities are split into two types: game day abilities and season abilities. Game day abilities do exactly what the name suggests. They impact your team directly during the games and influence gameplay in unique ways. We've made a focused effort to ensure these abilities do more than just boost attributes. They're designed to affect actual gameplay moments and interactions. That said, if you're the kind of player who likes to give a specific position group a stat boost before a game, don't worry, there are still coach abilities that offer traditional attribute increases. But then also, what else does it say here? There are 46 different abilities at launch, including 22 offensive and 24 defensive. Utilize the trimmed edges ability to give your offensive tackles an increased chance to win against various pass rush moves. Equip the sure hands ability to give your receivers a higher chance of catching passes, or counter it defensively with Mr. Dream, which gives your defenders an increased chance of knocking potential catches loose. Then there's a funny one here. They said, or if you're looking for a game-changing hit, equip, and it says here, their personal favorite, the ability of Hitimus Stickamus, to give your defenders a higher hit stick timing window and increased chances of forcing fumbles. Now, I'm going to push back a little bit on this, and this is a premature pushback because I don't know how it's going to work. I do like the wording of it saying increased, but I don't want absolutes. You guys know I've talked year in and year out that fumbles should not just be catered to hit stick, right? The hit stick shouldn't automatically cause a fumble. A big hit should not automatically cause a fumble. Fumbles should be organic, where it should be a mix of the rating of the player with the ball as well as the physics, regardless of even rating. If you hit the ball in the right spot, it should have a chance to come out. So I want stuff like that to matter more than a trait or an ability, right? So again, it's a video game, so I'm going to keep my eye on this. The fact that it's saying increased and not giving it an absolute, I'm okay with that, but that's TBD. I just don't like stuff being automatic or absolute in a video game while still understanding it's a video game. It's just my personal preference. So they have some tiers here, man. It says, here is a preview of some of the more game day abilities we'll be delivering in Madden 26. Dr. Dots. And see, again, all of this stuff says increase, but here it is. Tier 4 says QBs are immune to pressure effects. Immune. So again, is this absolute? Or is it just saying if they have that particular tier, then they can handle pressure? You understand what I'm saying? So, and this one might not be as bad, but I wouldn't want this to be that pressure doesn't affect them at all. But again, if it just says QBs are immune to pressure effects, so I guess this one might not be the worst case of absolute, because what if you have, does this represent a guy that's poised and normal pressure doesn't affect them the same way? So again, TBD on that, as long as it's not something that is completely absolute, like the Madden 25, some of those superstar abilities, I don't have a big issue with that. You have, and here it is, it has the coaches that are tagged that, that currently has that. interior dominating, and here are the current coaches that have it, and passing paranoia. And the tier 4 is increased chance at strip sacks, fumbles on sacks. Okay. And coaches with disability, Mike Tomlin, Jonathan Cannon, Sean McDermott, and Todd Bowles. Okay. Sheddables. Increased success against double team run blocks. Quick block and shed moves are more successful. Power block shed moves are more successful. Significant block shed success for all defensive linemen. Again, another coach that has this ability is one Mike Tomlin, which would make sense if you look around the league, you know, not trying to be a homer here with all the Steelers stuff in the back, but the Steelers defensive line and pressure guys have been, you know, pretty potent. So I can understand that. So again, that's just an idea of, what's going on here? Head of glass, tier 4. I'll just go to the highest tier. Coaching staff earns 50% more XP. Mike Tomlin is included in that one as well. Fit Finder, and there you have it. And then it basically says here tiers and ability progression. So it kind of talks about how you can progress the tiers. Again, I'm not going to read each and everything, but I think this is good stuff, man. I really do think the more you start crafting how coaches affect the game, you're getting closer to offering more realism, right? And it's a whole bunch of stuff that's going on in here. I'll just give you a piece of it. It says, as an ability progresses tiers, the effects of the previous tiers stack and the ability becomes more powerful. Abilities can be progressed in 2 different ways: upgrade goals and staff goals. And then you have tiers like, where did I see it at? There's each tier of an ability has both an upgrade goal and a knockout goal. I love that, right? So the way the performance is going to dictate whether it goes up or goes down. So it's dynamic. I love stuff like that. I love stuff like that. It says, for example, if an ability is a tier 1 and it's a knockout goal is met first, the ability will be removed completely and must be repurchased to unlock it again. This reflects how coaches evolve through their careers, trying new strategies and adapting. Ultimately, their success on the field shapes how they're judged. That's the idea behind knockout goals. If you can't turn an ability into real game success, it may be downgradable or lost. See, I love all of that. And again, there's different levels. Looks like it says once you upgrade an ability to tier 4, the upgrade goal shifts into mastery goals. Each tier has its own mastery goal. When a mastery goal is completed, that tier becomes permanent. Tier 1 mastery goal, tier 1 of that ability is yours forever and can't be lost. If you complete the tier 4 mastery goal, the ability becomes fully mastered and can never regress or be removed. Okay. And then there's things like, upgrade, knockout, and mastery goals will come in 2 types: game goals and cumulative goals. So you have certain things that are game specific, and then you have cumulative goals for the duration of the season. So again, putting all of this emphasis on how the coach progresses and how the coach affects the game, as well as having all of the real AI and, you know, coach DNA and all that type of stuff. There's not much I can say about this as far as, you know, this is great stuff. How is it going to play out? We'll see. And then they talk about, you know, build the perfect game plan. And this one is pretty deep, man. So again, I'm going to allow you guys to read this, but this one is pretty deep. It says the weekly strategy part of franchise mode has been completely redesigned with a big focus on coach abilities. During development, we set out to fix one of the biggest issues with the old coach talent system. It didn't put enough weight on actual strategy. In the NFL, it's not just about how many tools a coach has. It's about how they use those tools to solve the challenge in front of them. Our goal with this new weekly strategy was to capture the chess match and make each decision matter more than ever. When you first jump in, you'll notice 3 different types of loadouts: staff loadout, a play sheet loadout, and a trainer loadout. Okay, and again, you can go read this individually, but basically game planning and strategy has been completely redesigned. And what you do here will have a tremendous effect on the outcome. like it says here, set coaches' abilities, game day and season abilities, and then wear and tear as well, which we'll talk about that in a moment. It says here on the right side of the weekly strategy screen, you'll see a matchup panel that breaks down how your team compares to your opponent in various areas, along with the impact your abilities are having. You'll also find a set of scouting cards that highlight key opposing players, current injuries, individual and position group matchups, and even a breakdown of opponents' coaches and their top abilities, giving you insight into how they might game plan for you. All good stuff. And my only feedback is, as long as that stuff matters, like it actually matters, if you do or don't set these things appropriately, I have nothing to complain about. Again, we've got to see it in action. A few additional things to consider when filling out your staff loadout. For the staff and play sheet loadouts, you can use any ability from head coach, offensive or defensive coordinator. To upgrade KO or mastery, the upgrade KO and mastery goals mentioned above will only be active if an ability is equipped in the loadout for that week. Okay. And then there's other stuff that you could read about here. There was something here about play sheets. Just want to make sure I didn't miss it. Okay, here we go. It comes up a little bit later, because that was a very important one that I saw. So let's keep going. It says here, coordinators finally matter. I love this. I'll read the first piece of this. It says, as crucial as head coaches are, their coordinators play an equally vital role in team success. If you're an offensive-minded coach, your defensive coordinator essentially becomes the head coach of your defense. The reverse is true for defensive specialists. Coaches like Sean McVay, Todd Bowles, and Andy Reid are known for focusing on one side of the ball and leaning heavily on their coordinator to lead the other. That's exactly what we aim to reflect when assigning abilities to the coordinators. If you're an offensive guru, your only access to defensive abilities will come from your defensive coordinator, making them a key part of your weekly strategy. You can go all in on offense and try to win every game in a shootout, but as the saying goes, defense wins championships. A strong defensive coordinator gives you more tools, better options, and greater impact. The same logic applies to defensive masterminds. Offense is still necessary to win games, and a skilled offensive coordinator could be what separates a good season from a deep playoff run. Loving all of that, especially when it's saying if you are a offensive-minded or a defensive-minded, then your coordinator essentially becomes the head coach of that said side of the ball. So again, you're going into it as an offensive-minded coach, then your defensive coordinator will basically be running that defense, and the abilities that are available will be basically coming from the coordinator. See, I love that. I love that. I love that. It says, we've built teams with the mindset making coordinators more important than ever. You'll see a variety of coordinators, some experienced veterans with more and higher tier abilities, and others who are younger with fewer, lower tier abilities that improve as they develop. As a head coach, you'll need to think strategically about how to use your coordinators to cover your own weaknesses and balance your team. That's what I'm talking about. They have to matter. They have to matter. Now let's talk about play sheets. Again, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it basically says here, play sheets have been mentioned a few times already, and here you are probably asking yourself, what exactly is a play sheet? I know I was. Think of play sheets as a mini playbook you can bring into a game to expand your base offensive or defensive playbook. From the emergence of the Wildcat in 2008 to Andy Reid breaking out the Rose Bowl right parade in Super Bowl 54, for years, we've seen NFL coaches bring unique concepts to game day. That was a huge inspiration behind this feature. Okay. Play sheets are treated just like game day and season abilities in that they also have 4 tiers. The first tier simply unlocks the play sheet, while subsequent tiers will provide attribute boost to your players while running those plays in game. Play sheets also follow the same progression model that coach abilities do. Each play sheet tier will have an upgrade and knockout condition that controls how it progresses or regresses. Play sheet abilities can also be mastered. Now, I was just showing you some of the play sheets here. West Coast, wide empty, run and shoot, heavy sets, batch of blitzes, and that's just to name a few. And I don't know if that's going to be all of them or let's see what it says here. As mentioned earlier, just like you have a staff loadout to each week, you'll also have a play sheet loadout to configure. The play sheet loadout includes 4 slots, and the number of available slots depends on your coach level. Wow. Okay. The play sheets you equip here will carry into the game and work alongside your base offensive and defensive playbooks. I like this, man, but let me just offer some feedback. And again, this is for the guys who are ridiculously in depth and want it to be so simulation and so authentic. I'm not opposed to you having to come into the game with a play sheet. I've always said that, and I don't know if people agree with that, but I would love it to be an option where maybe it's a toggle option. So let me just preface it by saying that anything that I suggest, I also suggest is something that you can turn on or off, right? And I see that EA is starting to do that with some of the effects and wear and tear and all of that. As long as you give people the ability to turn it off, you can satisfy both worlds. But I would love an option to where you have to come in the game with a play sheet, right? You don't have access to the full playbook. That would be dope. That would be strategic. Because now that they're building towards you having to plan and, basically scheme around your opponent, imagine now if you had to craft your attack. So you literally come into the game and the only plays you have available are what you've put in that play set. And then you would have a cap on that. Like you ain't coming into the game with 200 plays. I would love something like that. But again, that's just my opinion. That would be dope. That would make it a little more authentic. But either way, I like what they're introducing here with play sheets. So that's pretty cool. Managing your staff. Not a whole lot I got to get into there, but I will talk about this. Coach Central Plus approval rating. With so much new content for staff, it needed a new home. Coach Central is the hub for your entire coaching team and their abilities, play sheets, and progression. But I do like this whole thing about the approval, right? Let me see if I can find specifically. There was something specifically I read earlier about the approval rating. It says, Here we go. You'll get a quick snapshot of your coach and staff. You can check their unlocked abilities, edit your custom coach, and view both your coordinator's job securities and your own approval rating, a new way to track how you're performing as a head coach. Strong relationships are essential to being a leader in the NFL. Your approval rating reflects how well you manage key groups, the GM, coaching staff, players, fans, and the media. Each week, their opinions shift based on how your team performs. Love that. If you're winning, your rating goes up. If things go poorly, expect it to drop. This system gives you a real-time view of where you stand as a head coach. At the end of each season, coaches are judged based on their approval rating. The same rules apply to both user and CPU coaches. If your rating is too low and your support is weak, you might find yourself out of a job. Love it. If you do hang on, your approval rating carries into future seasons. A rough year can put you on the hot seat, forcing you to bounce back and rebuild trust with those key groups the following season. That is outstanding. Now, it would be cool, again, I'm just talking about future, and this is a little nuance, but it would be cool if it matched the team's philosophy as well. So take a team like the Steelers that's only had 3 head coaches over the last 50 years versus other teams who've had 3 head coaches in the last 2 years. That would be cool if it had that type of level of authenticity as well. But again, that's very nuanced, guys. And the only reason why I would even say that is because clearly they have a system in place that can do that now. It would just be an added bonus now that they have they're introducing the coach DNA. Now maybe that's an option for them to have team DNA, right? Maybe you can now set the team DNA and that could be changed You know, just me thinking out loud. Then it talks about abilities and play sheet tabs. It says unlock items are organized into categories: offensive, defensive, and the 4 abilities specifically: progression, staff building, and scouting. You'll be able to see which abilities and play sheets you've unlocked and what tier they are at, and the current progression towards their upgrade or downgrade goal. You can also use staff points to skip upgrade goals. Keep in mind, mastery goals can't be bypassed. Those still require success on the field. So I love that. I love that there's things that you just can't pay for or earn with XP points. I love that there's things that are specifically based on field success. Love that. Coach storylines. Your storylines on day one as a new head coach. Your journey kicks off in the opening interview, but it also says from there, your story unfolds. The impact of your staff, their abilities, and how different groups view your performance all play a role in your path going forward. For instance, coordinators may approach you with their game day strategy. If you dismiss their input or make poor choices, their trust in your leadership may decline. Interesting. But if things go well, they can earn XP and even unlock or upgrade their abilities. Okay. When things are going your way, morale stays high and experience is positive. But if support starts to fade, the tone shifts. Players might hold meetings without involving you, and the media won't hold back. Okay. It's up to you to handle the situation, not just to win on the field, but to build a franchise where every member of your organization feels empowered to contribute a winning culture. Love that. They talk about different player traits here, and there's a bunch of them. I'm not going to read any of that, but a lot of different traits and things going on there. They talk about the opposing coach DNA and real-time coach AI. I'm not going to read that either, guys. We learned about these things with the other blogs. So again, I encourage everybody to go read this blog as well yourself. I'm not going to dive into all of this stuff. These are the things that we already heard about, like the real-time coaching and all of that. So there you have it. The wear and tear system, we know about this. We know what it is, but we'll just talk a little bit. You know, I'll read a little piece here where they talk specifically about it being in Madden. System that tracks every hit a player takes in a game and accumulates those impacts across the season. It's designed to reflect the real-life player health, forcing you to manage workloads realistically, relying too heavily on a few players, like a Derrick Henry giving him 40 carries, or Lamar Jackson running the ball 30 times will carry consequences. Inspired by the idea from college football, you know, the college football team, they gave a shout out to them. Wear and tear launches with dynamic subs, letting you make on-the-fly substitutions during pre-play and full slider customization for franchise mode. So you'll be able to fully customize how wear and tear affects the player. So you could turn certain effects up and down. And I love that because I'm the type that's going to make it highly effective, right? If people are running too much and things like that as a quarterback, or if you are carrying the ball too much, that's just how crazy I am when it comes to this simulation thing. I want to make it really feel impactful and make me have to craft a roster, have to go through my subs and utilize different personnel. So I'm going to have high impacts, and I'm going to, you know, give a call out to you guys, the slider guys, like shout out to my guys, Sim Gaming Network and others, you know, all of the slider people, all of the modders, you know, guys like Sabo. I'm going to be looking for you guys and how you guys have tweaked and things like that to find a very satisfactory or a satisfying slider set for the wear and tear. What else we got? Dynamic injury status. It says injuries are also now behave more realistically with statuses that involve over time based on various factors. A player's condition might improve or get worse week to week. This change builds on the existing weekly strategy and training system, adding a new layer of unpredictability to a player availability. I love that. And also, that's one thing that I didn't talk about up here. Let me go back. There's a trainer. It was up here somewhere, but there's trainer, and the trainer will affect the wear and tear. So there is a trainer component. Then I think, if I'm not mistaken, and it might be further down in this article, the trainer has abilities as well. So in case you didn't know what they were referring to on that little piece that I read, that's what they were referring to. It says, the training system will add a new layer of unpredictability to the player's availability. Wear and tear directly affects our new weekly player statuses. They have out, doubtful, and questionable. Before simulating training for the week, you'll see each player's current status. Players who are questionable or doubtful have a chance of being ruled out after training if you don't let them rest. And I did see that also in the trailer for this particular franchise deep dive. It did show that you could now rest them as opposed to full pads and half pads. And then I saw one that said custom. So I don't know what that was, but I did see that in the actual trailer there. Trainer rule and ability. So here it is. Here's what I was talking about. It says your trainer plays a key role in keeping your team healthy through trainer abilities. These abilities can boost how each player recovers each week, lower the chance of in-game injuries, and also improve the odds that injured players will be cleared to play. Just like coach abilities, you'll choose which trainer abilities to activate each week in weekly strategy. Whether it's during practice or on game day, your trainer helps you make smarter choices to protect your roster. So love all of that. Love all of that. You'll now have more control than you've ever had over player health. Decisions like how hard you train and when to give players rest days will have lasting effects. Having the right trainer on staff can be the difference between a healthy lineup or a team battling injuries all season long. And what I love about this, and again, we have to see it in real time, but I do love that it seems like this is going to completely replace that progressive fatigue, which at the time was a good idea, just didn't execute it well, and it never really worked the way that we thought it would in the current Madden. So hopefully wear and tear will be a breath of fresh air in that regard. A new layer of realism. They just talk about wear and tear and the consequences every week impacting your decisions. It brings a more realism and immersive and, depth to franchise mode. Every game, practice, and rest day counts. And the choices you make will impact not just your season, but your entire organization for years to come. Interesting. Now, speaking of practice, and I'll get to that in a moment, because I'll just say that at the end, there's still things that are not being mentioned in franchise mode, man, again, that I think we still needs to push for more things to happen and more change and things like that they didn't talk about. But again, I'm just happy to see that they are making strides, right? That they are actually putting and implementing foundational things for a franchise. Because before, we weren't seeing anything like this. So I'm hoping this is the start to a new vision. We shall see. Broadcast packages. So we already heard about this and we knew this was coming. So I won't read much of this here, but basically different graphics for, Monday night, Sunday night, as well as Thursday. Not only just different graphics, but the presentation will be different, even from the look of the score bug and all of that. That is great. From what I was reading here, it said, the audio will be different and the music will be different and the sound bites and the overlays and all of that will be customized to that particular package. So that's cool. What it doesn't look like they still have is the broadcast presentation branding, meaning, doesn't look like you see ESPN or NBC or CBS or those type of things. And I know that's important to a lot of people. So doesn't look like that's the case, but at least they are trying to give you some type of different presentation feel. And I would just say, guys, it's not an excuse, but I'm pretty sure those things cost money. So I'm imagining EA just doesn't want to spend the money for each one of those licenses, or it could be an NFL thing. It could be because the NFL is being broadcast in multiple different places now, even Netflix, that maybe the NFL has something to do with why it's not being represented broadly in game. I don't know. I'm just speculating. But I definitely understand that people, how you guys feel about that. So I wanted to at least shout you out there. What it says here is, we think you'll agree our broadcast packages are worthy additions to the NFL lexicon of sights and sounds. So we'll see. But the biggest thing too, man, this is one of the bigger features that a lot of franchise people, including myself, have asked for. If we harken back to the days of NFL 2K5, to me, I still think that may have been the best presentation of an NFL game. I'm not just talking gameplay, because I'm on record saying that I preferred Madden 05's gameplay and feel over 2K5, even though I love 2K5. But 2K5 represented ESPN Sunday Night Football at that time, and it had everything. The presentation was exact, including halftime and weekly wrap-up. So, again, I'm not going to read all of this. You can see it for yourself. Scott Hansen will be conducting it. What is cool, it says not only just CPU highlights. I read in here where it said if you are in a multi-user league, so if you're in an online league, it will show highlights, from other players in the league with their player card. So that is cool. That is cool as well. That adds another piece of immersion, man, for those in a 32-man league where you actually will see highlights from others in your league. That's pretty cool. But finally, there's a halftime and a weekly recap, and we'll see how it's presented. Again, all of this stuff is still TBD until we see how it's executed. Football weather we already know about. That is great, and it is going to be specific to the locale. I saw that in the beta. I purposely tried to play in heavy snow in Miami, and it wouldn't even allow me to select it. So I'm happy to see that. And I know some people would say, oh, it's a video game, let me do what I want. But yeah, it's never going to heavy snow in Miami, right? So it looks like from what I read here that it is going to kind of be locked to locale, and it'll be appropriate. So certain places that could potentially have heavy snow, you'll see that. And so forth. And it all will be based on time of year and such. And then, of course, it's going to affect certain ratings like change of direction, acceleration, and speed. And I saw a lot of that in the beta, guys. I mean, I played in some heavy snow games, and I was just trying to do a simple cut with the left stick, and my guy falls, not falls, but kind of slips, so I couldn't cut as fast. You definitely were feeling the impact of that in the beta. And I look forward to see how they finished up, because everybody's been telling us that beta was such an old version of the game. I don't know. In my experience with going down to EA in past years, yeah, a lot of times the beta didn't have some of the stuff that I even may have played later in the cycle, like times that I went down to EA in like May or even in June. The beta was already done, right? And builds that I were playing on were further along. But I don't know, guys. We'll just see how the game comes out. And outside of that, man, core improvements to improve draft logic, new draft prospect generator, retirement logic, progression and regression logic, game and season simulation stats, all of that stuff, TBD. You got to see how it actually plays out. I do like this. There's some morale changes, saying they've improved how morale works for certain players in your franchise. Your younger players or those that have a lower overall rating will see bigger morale boosts after a breakout game. So that is cool. Again, I'm not going to read this entire thing, but I will look forward to seeing that. And shout outs to EA for giving my franchise some love. My Pittsburgh Steelers. Shout outs to them. Let me read to you right here, because it says a player boost in morale could mean a small ratings increase. You might give them an edge over a backup with a similar overall rating. Think about the Saints quarterback situation this year. If someone steps up and performs, they deserve a reward, and we'll do that by raising their morale. And they give a shout out to the Steelers. It says, we saw this play out during a franchise playthrough with the Steelers. Rookie running back, who I think is going to be a beast, Caleb Johnson started after Jaylen Warren went down for 2 weeks. Johnson then rushed for 130 yards and scored twice in his debut. That gave him a solid morale boost. The next week, he followed it up with 115 yards and got another bump. Thanks to that momentum, he progressed faster. And when Warren returned, Johnson kept the job, not just because of his performance, but because his overall rating had climbed slightly higher. I love stuff like that. There should be benefits and consequences for on-field play. But I want to also see practice mean more too. See, I didn't hear any mention about that, but that's a start. Revamp player tag logic, new storylines. So hopefully there's a ton of those. And that's about it. So really quick, guys, I know I've talked for a long time now, so let me just sum up what I'm seeing here. Great start. And the reason why I say start is because franchise has been neglected for years, in my opinion. It hasn't gotten any real changes. This is a significant change. Even like they say here, this is the biggest update they've seen in over a decade. It cannot stop here, though, because there's a lot more that I would still want to see, right? I didn't see any mentions of contract restructuring and things like that, like the real way, front loading, back loading, all of that stuff you could do back in the day. I didn't see any mention of any improvements or any new direction with scouting, right? I didn't see anything as far as, yes, weekly strategy, but not prep, meaning practice. I feel like in an NFL experience, practice is very important, and players should be rewarded or deducted based off of practice performance and or not performing well in practice. Also, I didn't see anything pertaining to like chemistry between players, right? So there's still some things to do going forward. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I saw some stuff like that what was it? The something influence that's in Superstar and Road to Glory. I forget the title of it, but it was something about influence where it's teammates and this and that. But basically, it was kind of showing you where there was an open opportunity where how the influence you have with certain teammates, those guys could develop a bond and things like that. I was hoping there was going to be something like that in franchise, and it's not. But there needs to be some type of player chemistry. Like I said, I remember years ago when I went down to EA and a guy named Kobe that worked from MLB The Show talked to myself, Azure, and Smitty about idea of chemistry and how he wanted to implement it and how it could affect the quarterback and the rookie receiver that didn't practice and he gets in the game and maybe he can't hear audibles. Like chemistry mattered. He talked about chemistry with the linemen being together for a long time and then building chemistry with a running back and all over the field. DBs that play together, linebacker groups that play together. We've yet to see that, right? We've yet to see that. We see more chems in Ultimate Team, but nothing like that in franchise. So you see what I'm saying? There's still much more to do. And now we continue to press on and continue to provide the feedback. But I can honestly say from what I'm reading in this blog, if things play out accordingly, this will be a good franchise year and we look towards the future. So again, I'm not going to stop right here, but I will appreciate what I read here and hope that this is the start of a new vision for Madden and college football in terms of those who are governing these products and allowing the developers to keep pushing. We shall see. But outside of that, man, that's all I got, man. Hey, if you're new to the channel, if you like what you saw here, make sure you hit that like button, as well as subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Outside of that, hey, I'm a little excited. Can't wait to see how these things play out, and that's just what it is. You know, whatever doesn't play out properly, I will give my proper feedback on those things. But that's it. That's all I got, man. So I hope you guys enjoyed this super lengthy, long video. And I shall catch you guys in the next one. Peace.